Welcome to another episode of Million Dollar Stories. My name is Mike Fallett, and I have a special guest who I have been able to get to know over these past couple months. We've been working together. We got to go to a few events together regarding self-storage and personal development and even self-defense training. And this guy has been around the block. You are going to hear some stories, so stay tuned for this. Damon Nichols, best-selling author of the book called The Breakout Blueprint, and now the owner of strengthunderstress.com. Sus for those people out there paying attention. Damon, thanks so much for being here, dude.
Right on, man. It's good to be here, man. Good to see you.
We have a lot to get to, right? We can get into all kinds of stuff. I think where we should start is to get people to know your background. You know, why did you even write the book? Because I think people out there see the Breakout Blueprint and they have no idea what you went through. So where did it all begin?
Well, it's been a long road, and it's been a wild ride. So as I've gotten clean and sober, and got my life together and started building businesses, I figured, it's time for me to share my story and try to help other people that have gone through these same situations, in and out of treatment centers, prisons, jails, whatever. I spent a lot of my life in and out of those places, and in a lot of really dark places, addicted to some substance or another. Years of cocaine and meth, and I had enough of my life, and I see so many people go through the same cycles and never even really get out of those, much less to be able to become successful and break away from the W-2 world and, be your own person. And so as I kind of had to reinvent who I was, I decided, I'm going to share my story and try to reach out and help as many people as I can. So
what was the defining moment? What I remember interviewing you for the book, and you have a story in there regarding the judge giving you one last shot. Otherwise, you'd be going to prison for a very, very long time. So was that the moment where it started to click? And if not, what was the defining moment?
There was a couple defining moments. That one was a big one. And, I'm going to add this, because so the restaurant the commercial property that I bought, which is now my restaurant, was the home where a judge and his daughters grew up. So the judge that sentenced me to 8 years community corrections, and then later on sentenced me to 2 years in a treatment facility. But that was the same judge, but he grew up in that house, hung out in that house, which is now the restaurant. And last couple of weeks ago, he was over there eating lunch, and I walked up and asked him if he remembered me, and vaguely. And then once I told him who I was, and it was like, oh yeah. And I said, you remember sentencing me to 8 years? And he was like, yeah, you didn't make it. And I said, then you sentenced me to 2 years in a treatment facility. Yeah. And, looks like you're doing all right now. So he could have, because of the way the situation was with that facility, I was in a place that they call voluntary aftercare. So I left during that, but they didn't consider me a graduate. So then the DA came after me and was, she was looking at trying to give me the 12 years, which I had originally had suspended. Well, when I went to court and I talked to I got some counselors on there and some people. Long story short, he decided that any more time. So he let me go, cut me free and loose, done, time served. And that was, it was 7 or 8 years had gone by. Well, then I run into him at the restaurant and had a really good talk with him. And so I got to sign a book and give it to him. And it was very exciting for both of us to be able to share that moment. He told me, he's like, I've never sentenced anybody and had them come out and become successful, and to give me a book that they wrote. So it was a great moment for both of us.
And the book he's talking about is this one, guys, The Breakout Blueprint. And if you want to hold up your book, I want to make sure everybody sees that it is an Amazon bestseller as of right now. So check it out. You can't miss it. The Breakout Blueprint. It is reforming old belief systems, eliminating toxic habits, and overcoming fear to achieve true freedom. So you talked a little bit about going away from the W-2 mentality into the entrepreneur mentality. And I think your first business was the restaurant, or was it construction? Kind of tell me a little bit about that journey, because going from a W-2 corporate employee or any type of employee to starting a business sounds like it's an easy transition, but I'm telling you, it is a 180-degree mind shift. Tell us about
Yeah.
that.
So, I spent, when I was younger, I had a business. It didn't do very well, but I spent most of my adult life just working for people. I had, fairly mediocre jobs, and probably for about 10 to 15 years, I had some really good technical jobs. I was a technician and an electrician in a factory and facility, and I worked on a lot of really complicated machinery. So I got a really good technical mindset, and I was looking at pursuing that as a career. But I also, at the same time, I knew that I can only make so much money then, and like $120,000 a year. That's what a lot of these, top end, top technicians, senior techs were making. I'm like, that just doesn't sound like what I want to do. I don't want to have that cap, so I was supposed to go start a job at a place as a PLC technician, one of the master PLC technician. Um, oops. So that job didn't work out for me. It was a really high paying job, and I'm glad it didn't, because at that point I was like, okay, what do? I don't have a job at the time, kind of a side hustle. But I decided, I'm not gonna go out and try to find another job. I'm gonna do this on my own.
Love it.
So I started, looking through Craigslist and, different places, lead service companies, and it didn't take very long to figure it out. But yeah, that whole transition of, I don't know where my money's coming from. I don't know.
Scary as hell.
Yeah, it was, and I had a family to support, and I had a lot of stuff that, I wasn't really sure about. And so, sorry, I'm dealing with stuff on my computer. So that was a really tough time for me, because I wasn't sure, but I kept going, and it seemed like I had to spend more time working. I went from 10 hours a day, 6 days a week, to 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. So it went from, I had freedom in one sense, but it tied me up into stuff that I lost a lot of freedom over that.
Yeah, I mean, for the first couple years, don't you think you're working nonstop? It's
Yeah.
almost like you start a business for freedom, but for the very beginning of that journey, you have zero freedom, because you're tied to every dollar, every next breath of fresh air, right? Like you needed to get to stage 2 to stage 3, and you're working nonstop. So when did you start to kind of maybe get your feet underneath of you?
So once I started, learning about real estate, because I didn't know the first thing about it, I was really good at doing rehabs. I could, house pretty much by myself. And I knew that I wanted to, learn all of the ins and outs of real estate, how to buy this stuff, how to go through the contract process, and, all of that. So I went to some classes, and I learned that. I started going to different places to, find out, to get the knowledge I needed to do this. So once I did, then that was another big jump. Like, go to, let's go put this house under contract. Let's go put money up, and I kind of talked about that in the book, writing a check for money that I didn't have. Let's make the jump,
What a
make the jump.
risk. Yeah.
Yeah. So then once I started doing this, and I did my first house all by myself from the ground up, rehab, and then it was like, okay, so how do I go about pulling the money out of the bank, and, refinancing and all that. So once I started learning how to do that, then I had another guy that wanted to come work for me. And so I started, just building this up, and then another guy. And so I started putting a few guys together, and had a pretty good little company that was rehabbing houses, buying houses. And then I started getting people that wanted to invest in properties. And so that kind of went really well. It's still going good. I fortunately, I still have most of the same guys. And but they're kind of doing other stuff too, because we've kind of this whole thing, same kind of thing happened in the storage shed industry. So I got hooked into building storage sheds, and yeah, it turned into now makes me probably more money than anything. So
Yeah, I mean, and so the entrepreneurial journey, right? It's not a straight path. You're saying that, okay, you just needed to survive. You got into flipping houses, renovation, and you showed me some pictures, by the way, some scary things you've been through. Individuals, I think you said that you bought houses where people have died. You had to, renovate it from the ground up. And it's kind of it's not a pretty process, but once it is produced, now you have something that's valuable. You can rent it out or sell it. But that kind of led you into the construction world, which made you become very, very versatile in the self-storage investments. So I think we really connected because we have a love for self-storage. You kind of just fell into it. I have a client named Joe Evangelisti who is very big into that world. I fell in love with the model, how you make money, how you can refinance, and the obvious trend of it growing. So self-storage, tell us a little bit about your journey on that, because people out there, if they're looking to build one, you're the guy.
yeah, I've got the guys, so we can go anywhere and build them. We've been everywhere from Washington to Minnesota and everywhere in between, as far down south as Arizona, and we're looking at stuff even farther south. So pretty much all over the country. So kind of what with my model, unless I'm working around locally, I don't like to get into the concrete area because that's a whole other animal. But basically, these guys, the homeowner will purchase the building, and I've got some really good hookups with building outlets and manufacturers. So I've worked with a couple that are done really well. I work with Regency Buildings and Sunward Steel Buildings. There's a couple great companies. These guys are out of Denver, and I built a lot of buildings for them. But basically, these guys they were looking for people to come in and put them up like fast, and I'm finding out that we can go in and put up a couple buildings in a few days, versus if you hire a local guy, a lot of times they got other projects going on, and it always takes longer. I know, even for me, if I'm working locally, I've got 3 or 4 projects going on, so stuff doesn't get done as fast, and that's just the bottom line. But I've got some great people that I've worked with, kind of done a lot of it, ground up, the concrete work. But I know it's a really good thing to get into that's going to bring cash flow, and it's a good way to get money, to pull money out to, if you got a piece of property that serves no function other than to put buildings on it, it's great.
Yeah, I mean, that's the beautiful part about it. Number one, it's growing everywhere. People are becoming pretty used to seeing them on the road. I mean, I think years ago, people thought they were ugly, right? They weren't pretty. They didn't appreciate the environment around them. Nowadays, I'm seeing them everywhere. Kmart's are being converted into them because they're actually nice to look at. And people like you and Joe and all them are building them in a way that they actually add value to the surrounding environment, for sure.
Right. Yeah. The building that Joe and those guys did, that's a beautiful facility.
Yeah.
So,
it's insane. So you talk about the cash flow, and I think your love is in something else outside of construction. Obviously, you are great at what you do when it comes to building. You do it to grow the business, your team. Everybody seems like they're on board for the long haul of growing that company. But you also have something else you're working on, and maybe if you want to tell us a little bit about the one and only. You gave me this at the I think the second to last event that we were at. SUS, strength under stress. All right. So tell us a little bit about the genesis of this, man, because what you really are learning as you read this book is more so the mindset of just being a problem solver and the mindset of overcoming adversity and maybe using it as fuel to build a great life. That's pretty much what this brand is all about, right?
That's it. That's exactly what that brand is all about. So the 4 of us, myself, my wife, Celeste, Jake, and Katie, we've all gone through some pretty crazy experiences in life to be, where we're at now. We're all, fairly successful, like me and Celeste both, went through a lot of years of addiction and dealing with trauma and just all of those kind of issues. And we've overcome that now. We've had, Jake has dealt with some stuff with it. He watched his dad deteriorate for several years and just fade away from cancer into nothing. And he couldn't really do anything about it, so he's watched, his dad die. And it was, he went through that. And so he's got, that little element, and Katie, she went through, years of abusive relationship, or an abusive relationship. She pretty much had one relationship, and just all of the stuff that went with that, and to come out on the other side and gain her independence and get away from that mental abuse and I don't know so much physical abuse, but just all of that stuff that comes with those kind of toxic relationships. We've all came from severely toxic relationships. I think we're all in really good relationships now. We work really hard on our personal growth. We work hard on getting to the core of certain issues that have caused us to do things we've done. But the basis of the company is to empower people to be able to find that strength to get through these situations in life. And then the unique thing about this, it's primarily an apparel company, but we'll be doing other stuff. So the U in this on the under, yeah, that's going to be customizable. And I might have one here if I can dig that out real quick.
Yeah,
So,
I love some of the things you were putting together on the trip. I don't know if they were mock-ups or whatnot, but I was fascinated by how you were able to customize that across many different pieces of apparel.
I have this one. You can kind of see it. It's got an American flag in it.
Yeah,
And,
love it.
And then I have another one. It's got a U in it. I don't get for it now, but it's pink, which represents breast cancer. So we have back the blue. So you customize your U for whatever you've gone through. If you know somebody that went through maybe breast cancer, you want to paint you in that, you can buy something for them, or that brings that out and says, I beat this, or I've gone through this, and I had to find, whatever it was to get past this in my life. So you'll be able to customize you'll be wearing a custom piece of gear or whatever that has something. And then the nice thing about it is we're going to be contributing money to these different causes. So Stout Street Foundation is where it's a 2-year treatment program that I went through, and I really want to give back to them. And they're solely based on donations. So if I can help them, all of their meals, or they have to go out and get donations for their meals, their housing, their everything. So their food.
What's it called? What's it called?
It's called the Stout Street Foundation.
Got it. All right.
They're out of Denver, and it's a long-term addiction. It's a behavioral modification program is what it is.
Are they all across, or are they just in Colorado?
No, this one's just in Colorado, but I think they have a couple locations in Colorado. But they're also teaming up with some other people that are another organization, and I'm not sure. I'm going back Thursday to talk to them. I'm actually going to be probably doing a presentation for them, so that's going to be kind of cool. But
got it.
Like mental health, that's another one that it's becoming really big.
Rampant.
We want to find where we can most use those dollars. It's pretty broad field, so we want to really be specific in what we do, because we want our money to go to something and not some corporate to pay somebody's salary.
Right.
We want this money to be in some kind of prevention or something that's going to actually help people, and we're still putting that together. Even in animal cruelty. So
that's what caught my heart for sure.
Yeah.
I would want to be a part of that.
Yeah. So that's the other thing. And Celeste's son had just said, yeah, I want one of those. Well, I want a fish hook. And I'm like, oh man, that's perfect. I can turn you into a fish hook. So then now we can find something in where we can maybe give back to some kind of a humane society or something that's going to maybe help or prevent. I talked to a guy that was looking at trying to come out with an affordable line of raw dog food that, normal people or regular people can buy, because it's stupid expensive to feed your dogs wrong,
Oh
or
yeah.
to feed your animals right. So he's trying to find a way to do that. So we would be able to contribute to something like that. How can we help to make, good food affordable for people because they don't have that? Or maybe something that could help, where if they've got a, medical help with people that can't afford some kind of medical stuff for their animals. So those are the kind of things that we're looking at doing. Definitely domestic violence is another one. So, and
So is it like a percentage of the apparel sales will go to certain causes depending on the
yes,
time of year and whatnot?
yeah. And so we're still trying to put all of that together. And right now we're, I could probably talk to you more about some of this stuff, and I maybe want to throw some stuff out in one of the inner circle meetings. But yeah, definitely that's what we're working on. And we've been every day, coming up with this stuff, and we're building this. We've got our website built, and, we're spending a lot of time and money to get this thing going. And, we've got a lot of people already just in the last month that are, where they want product, they want it, they want to be involved, so, but the website is also, we want to create a community in that community. They can be part of that, where there's also resources for people to go to that are dealing with maybe suicide or addiction or whatever, and they can reach out to people. So it's more than just, selling clothes. We want to be able to connect with people.
So that's what I think your superpower is. You're able to connect with people who have a past that maybe they're afraid to share with the world, right? I saw you on stage speaking at Joe Evangelisti's self-storage event, and you're a natural speaker because you're speaking directly from the heart. And this new identity that you are really diving in on, right? Best-selling author, speaker, creating the Sus company. Tell us a little bit about that transformation. Why now? Why is it time to kind of wake people up now?
Sorry, your connection lost. Tell about what? What did you say?
Yes. So I saw you speaking at Joe Evangelisti's event, and
Right.
you're speaking on stage about, what you overcame, what you've accomplished, and where you're going. And I think it's because you're able to connect with people from that background to such a high degree. But why now? What's the reason? What's the fuel pushing you to do it now? And, where do you see yourself whenever this is all available for the world to see? Like, what do you see yourself doing in the next 3 or 4 years, basically to help individuals do what you've done?
So yeah, yeah, there's a lot there, but I definitely, I know that I can, yeah, reach out to people and help people. And I think, I want to get away from all of the building and everything, but to be able to, maybe connect people with resources, or to be a resource for somebody, or to be, hopefully I can maybe help somebody get their story out, and the more you talk about these things, and the more you put them out there, you're actually working on it. And I'm finding that the more I talk about it, the more I talk about the traumas in my life, and the more I openly go out there and say, this is what I did in my life, and this is how it hurt me, and this is what I've learned from it, the more I can heal those things. And
Bingo.
so that's what I want to be able to do. I made a great connection with Wesley there the other day, and so we've been talking, and and so he
Wesley
said,
Morris? Is
yes,
that his-
Wesley Morris, yes. And so I really like that guy, and
Great guy.
we got a strong connection. It was crazy because he's kind of come from the same background. He walked into that barn. The first person he walked up to was me. It's crazy. And we have the same story.
The law
So,
of the universe. You find
yeah,
each other.
yeah,
Like attracts like.
yeah. And so that's kind of where I'm going with all of it, man. There's, guys out there like Nick Santos, great guy. I really connect with his story, and I want to be out there. I like the way he was able to just take people through these emotional
Cool.
states.
Great
It is
speaker.
awesome. Yeah. And it really resonated with me, but it also got so many things turning in my mind. It's like, okay, this is how I can be effective. I want to touch people like that. So that's where I'm looking at in the next, couple, 2 or 3 years is, and then I also want to help people, I want to show people what it takes to go from point A to point B. I can give you every step on how to get into real estate. I mean, I've done a lot of real estate. I've done a lot of tax lien stuff. So I'm really familiar with that, and so I went to one of those courses and bought into that. And then I bought a bunch of tax liens. I go to a lot of auctions. And so I've been in that game too. And so if I can help somebody get into that, so I really want to help people. There's a whole bunch of vehicles, entrepreneurship that maybe I can help, and I'm not holding anything back, you want to know how to do this, I'm willing to show you all of it.
Yeah.
I'll show you everything I got.
That's what I get from you. You're real, you're authentic. And even going back to that speech one more time, I just want to say that you are so natural when it comes to just communicating your story to people that there's no fluff. And I think people resonate with somebody who is so transparent like that and unafraid. A lot of people would be afraid to say some of the things that you've gone through. So I commend you. You also have a very cool past when it comes to drumming. All right. There's videos of you on YouTube and whatnot. Any crazy stories? You were a part of the music world for a while. So your background is just wild. Anything that was memorable when it comes to the music world that you'd love to have one more taste of?
Yeah, and I've kind of been going through that with my wife right now, and I've been dealing with some stuff, and I've kind of had some things that have triggered me lately, just because I'm not actively playing in a band, and it's hard for me. I have a really nice drum set, but when I go out and I sit down and I play it, I start getting angry because I'm not able to, you know, play and be out doing what I want to do. For me to just, it's one thing to just go sit out and play, but I've gotten to the point where, I really, it's such a deep passion of mine, and that I can't do it because I don't want to say I can't do it. It's just I got a lot of things going on right now, and finding people. Jake is a musician, but just finding the time to be able to dedicate to that,
Oh,
because there is no other feeling, and only another musician can feel where I'm coming from. Where you're there, and you're in the groove, and it's just you're connecting with the rest of the band, and you're on a whole nother level, and nothing can ever match that. And it's something that I can't express in words, but I guarantee you that every other musician out there knows exactly what I'm talking about.
and this isn't like real subtle, just keeping the beat drumming. The stuff that you play is wild, right? I mean, I look like a 10-piece setup. I'm not sure, but
I think it's a 12. Yeah.
yeah, 12-piece setup. I mean, it's wild. So, what is it? There's a couple, like the greatest drummer of all time, they say, is Neil Peart, right?
Yeah, he's up there, definitely one of the top. Yeah.
So, is that like your idol? Do you have another one out there? Because I think that
Yeah, well, it's got to be Dave Lombardo, man. He's my all-time favorite. Slayer's my band, like that.
got it. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that's
like Slayer. Who's the lead singer? What's his name?
Tom Araya.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, those guys are great, man. I love that band. They actually, that defined me as a person through the 80s and through the 90s. I was the wild metalhead that brought that stuff to this town, to this little small farming community. People were like, what the hell is this kid listening to? And I was like, oh yeah, so much power and raw, you know.
I'm such a big fan. I mean, of Tom's political opinions. If
Yeah.
if you know him, he used to be very vocal on Twitter and Instagram until he shut it all down. I think I haven't seen him in a while.
Yeah,
But
I'm
man,
sure.
oh man, he has some serious courage, and I can't believe he puts it out there because, not many people in the music world think like him, and I'm
Right.
so blown away that he's
Yeah.
so outspoken, and I love it.
And that's the thing about them is people don't really know what they've listened to their music and they're like, oh, it's just a bunch of devil worshipers, but that's not even the case at all.
No, he's very
They have
spiritual. He's a big Christian, I believe. I'm pretty sure.
they have a they'll have their differences. Kerry King's kind of got his own opinion on that, but they're they put this music out because it caused a lot of controversy, but it also made them blow up, and it was brilliant. But when you really sit and listen to what they talk about and what their beliefs are, it's not all of what they're singing about. Like they're
No.
singing about this as maybe a third person or whatever. Every album. So yeah, those guys have they're great guys. They've got a great message, and they're just all around good guys.
He reminds me of Dave Mustaine. Are you a big Megadeth
Yeah,
fan?
Dave. Yep.
Dave is the man. If you
Yep.
listen to what he has been saying for the past, I don't know, maybe 20 years, maybe more, maybe his whole life, he is so spot on. And now I'm listening to the music for the
Mhm.
words.
Yep.
And he has nailed it when it comes to the new world order and everything that's
Oh yeah.
happening politically. He saw this coming. I
Oh
believe
yeah.
Dave Mustaine is a genius.
Yeah, he was way ahead of his time. He was writing about this stuff when it was only conspiracy theorists, So he was, but yeah, Dave, and thing is he's dealt with addiction, been in and out of that, and
Yep.
he's kind of like a lot of them, but he's gone down some pretty dark roads and kind of came out the other side, and now he's dealing with whatever cancer I think he's had to deal with, which guy's still out there playing music, man. Like,
Waylon, by the way, I just went to his
gotta,
last concert here in Pittsburgh. The dude is still as fast as ever.
it's amazing. It's amazing. Yeah.
Wild.
So
So,
yeah, so music has always been my passion, and the fact that I can't really do it right now kind of stirs something inside of me,
it's a
uh,
missing piece.
it is, and maybe I'll get that back. My brother Lex, probably one of the best musicians I've ever known, seen. I mean, the guy is tremendous guitar player. Like everything he does. As a matter of fact, he's got a concert tomorrow night, and he does everything from like Indian music. He plays flutes. He plays all types of instruments, but he's also an awesome metal guitarist. So I mean, if my ultimate band would be band with me and him, and I don't know who else it would be involved, but man, I would love to record an album with him. Oh, I did, but I mean, I'd love to record a metal album with him. I've recorded other stuff with him, but it was not the same. So
Yeah, well, I would say that I'm seeing a trend of all the most successful entrepreneurs that I know who are the happiest. It seems like they pick up this hobby after they built the business and they have the freedom. It's almost like they go back to their childhood and they find that thing that they let go, right? Tony Watley is a guy that I look up to, and he just picked up skateboarding again. He's a 50-some-year-old guy skateboarding at 50 years old. People would think that that's insane, right? Well, he has everything. He's got the cars, the businesses, but to find that one missing piece that kind of keeps him youthful inside, you got to do it, right? And so yours sounds like drumming. Me, it was motorcycles. The moment my business started to work, I started getting back into motorcycles. So it's
yeah,
important for those people out there as they build a business to not lose that sense of identity, what
right.
really drives them, right?
And I think that's kind of the fear, because I think when I start looking at that, then I start having this fear of, my lifelong dream is I'm not going to get that, or I'm losing it, or I won't ever have that chance to get that back again, because I mean that was a high that was, unlike any other kind of a drug. So to think, may not ever be able to have that again is kind of, it's like, I don't think I'm ready to let that go. So
Don't.
I
You'd
I
regret it.
I do the other stuff, like I have a really really fast motorcycle, and I just got it back out the other day, and I've been both my motorcycles are parked outside now. And like, oh yeah, I'm riding. I'll be probably riding today. But yeah, I have to find those things too. I race these races. I run these ultra long, whatever, these crazy, obstacle course races or whatever, because I gotta stay doing that, or I look for, these really crazy amusement park rides and stuff like that. So, I
I'm glad you brought that up. I want to get into the fitness side of you. All right.
okay.
So, you talked about how you do ultra marathons and Spartan races. It seems to me like you just love testing yourself, maybe to see your boundaries or limits, but also it keeps your mind occupied of the challenge, right? The obstacle is the way, as they say. So, you love pursuing what's difficult and what's scary simply because it makes you stronger, very much in alignment with your brand. But tell us a little bit about that first race or why you got into that in the first place.
Well, all my life I was, I like to run. When I was a little kid, I fell through a ladder and I snapped my femur and was in a hospital in traction for 5 weeks. And it took me over a year to learn how to walk again. And they said I would never be right. So once I got out of the sling and the cast and all of the stuff that I was in, and I started learning how to walk again, and all I wanted to do was run. And I did that all the way through school. I got into track, and I just loved to run and do all of that running and wrestling. That was my big thing. And then, then life started happening, and then, the addiction came. So it was really hard to do. You can't do drugs and be a runner. So, but once I got clean, then I like, what, I really have this passion for running. So I started running again. And then, I think I was maybe 48, 49 years old. And I'm like, what, I want to start. My body is still in good enough shape that I can go out and I can race. And so I got in, I did a couple, they were triathlons. They weren't real big, but it was running and biking and swimming, so they were, for me, I say not real big because they were only like, it was a 10-mile bike and a 3 or 4 mile run and a, 40-mile swim. But at the time it was a lot. Uh, and then I did really well at it. And I'm like, okay, I can still do this. And then it just kind of gave me that drive to keep going. And then I started signing up for 5Ks and 10Ks. And then I got introduced into Tough Mudder, and then it was like, this is what I want to do. And so,
Yeah, guys, just so you know, he invites me to all these Tough Mudders, and he says stuff about running through mud with electric wires, and I kind of like distance myself whenever he asks me about that because that just sounds insane. But I still want to do one. It's just not yet. And these are long races. Some of them. What was the one race you did? It's is it 50 miles or is it 100?
no. So I did. The last year I did two, and they were back to back. There were two 12-mile runs. I
Oh,
did one
okay.
Saturday and one on Sunday. So that was kind of rough. But we were actually going to be going out to Montana to go do this ultra, but some stuff came up in the last couple of days, and Jake's going to be gone, and I think their graduation's happening that week. So
You were going to go out there with Jim Riley, right? Another
yeah,
fellow entrepreneur, business
yeah,
investor slash best-selling author.
yeah. So we still want to, we're just going to have to find one a little bit later. There's still that one out in Philly. If you want to go, it's a 8-hour one. Well, you could do the 5 mile or 6 or whatever mile. We're going to do the Infinity, which is 8 hours, but
I'll
it's
do
an open class.
I'll do sort of the Irish goodbye, and I'll say, "Oh, I'll see you there.
Yeah.
I'll let you know about that."
Okay. Yeah. So, some of those come up, but I've done, some fairly long races, 25, 30-mile runs. I've done some 100-mile bike races. So, and then in 2020, I raced BMX because that was the only thing I could do. Like, they shut down all the Spartans and Tough
See, I
Mudders.
didn't
So
even know that.
I got
Amazing.
together. My brother, he's been like BMX all his life. He's been in magazines and everything. He's like, hey, let's go. So, we built a track in town, and we got on a circuit and started going, and actually ended up taking, I think, second in state that year in 2020. So, and he did too. I think first and second, because we did the regular class age group and cruiser class. and I think I was second and third, and he was like first and second in state. So,
I didn't
but
even know this. How did I know this? I was a big BMXer. I loved the movie Rad. I used to
yeah,
get the magazines with Pistol Pete on it. Remember Pistol Pete?
yeah, 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 yeah. Well, it was just it was a brief time in my life, I guess. It was 1 year when I couldn't run. I could do that.
So
You know,
what type of bike do you have? Do you
I
have, or
have
did you have? Was it a Haro, Dyno, what?
I have a Haro. I have two Haros. I have a dirt jumper, and then I have a I think it's a cruiser. I'm not
Uh,
sure.
Wow. What year is it? Is it one of the 80s, 90s?
It's no, this was a brand new bike. It was a
Uh,
2020 bike. I bought it
got
brand
it.
new.
So they're
I
still
bought
around.
both of them in 2020. So my brother's got a really nice red line from the 80s. It's a pretty sweet bike.
My brother's got his old Mongoose still.
Yeah.
Mongoose used to be a really good brand. I think they got bought out by
Mhm.
some other cheaper brand.
Yeah. So not really been that big into it, not as much as he has. It was something for me to do so I could do something so I could still go out and compete. You know?
Man, why is that so important though? For anybody out there listening, I mean, entrepreneurship is so difficult. I think your mind and your body have to be in sync, and the only way to do that is to stress your mind and the body at the same time. Why is it so important for others to, if they want to have that breakout in their life, to get their diet, their fitness, their health in check?
Well, when you start feeling good about yourself and you wake up in the morning and you feel good, when you physically feel good, it changes the whole dynamic of your day, changes everything.
Yep.
And you get up, sometimes I have a hard time getting out of bed. I'm a little sore and everything, but once I get stretched out and I get going, I'll go run, I'll go put on 5-10 miles, come back, jump in the shower, and it just changes my whole day. And just to be able to feel good all the time, it's you know it puts you in a whole different world. And i love I love what I do. I love the way I feel. And one of the things that I think it was Keaton said, how many people up there have your dream body, when he was talking on stage.
Dream life. Yep.
Like, well, I'm pretty close to that. I'm pretty satisfied. I'm always working to get better, but I'm happy. I love the way I look. I love the way I feel, and it took me a while to get there, because there was a point I was 218 pounds and I had a hard time tying my shoes, and I didn't feel good. I dealt with aches and pains, and I still have some, but they're not like they were. And as I started working on my diet and cutting all the crap out, all these things started going away. I'm like, and I found that I can still eat good food, because that's I think a stigma that people have. Oh, if I eat healthy, it's not going to taste good or something. Like,
Oh
some of the
shit. No
best
way.
stuff I have, yeah, very healthy. So um, I love what my wife cooks for me. She's very good cook, and she comes up with some stuff, and she's like, oh, it's only got 3 ingredients, and I'm like, man, this is amazing. So yeah, she's really good at doing that. So I have to give her that.
Last
So
question I have for you is the freedom aspect. You and I both share the same sentiment when it comes to the importance of freedom: financial freedom, spiritual freedom, mental freedom, physical freedom, time and location freedom. So people out there probably don't even understand what's happening in the world, right? They don't even realize what's happening with the banks and, how the media and the politics and all this does really involve taking your rights away, taking away your freedom. Why is it more important than ever to get their money right, their mind right, their body right? What do you say to those people out there who say, hey, I'm free. At least I feel free. So why should I change anything?
yeah, because it's just like boiling a frog in water. They slowly do it over time, and before the frog even realizes he's dead. And that's what they're doing to people out there. Oh, we're going to do this for your safety or for your whatever. And they don't have your best interest in mind.
Not one bit.
Nobody. People in these groups, they have your best interest in mind. They're going to want to help you, break out of whatever, crap you're getting into and become better, but that doesn't involve, oh, let's give up this right or this freedom so that everybody else can be safe. And that's the whole thing that's being pushed right now. And this whole agenda of, there's so many things. The rabbit hole is so deep where let's conserve this, or let's protect this, or let's do this. And it's all taking away your freedom.
Damn right.
Business owners are, they're getting every little thing. I was up the other day talking to these guys up in Moffat. I'm not a weed guy. I used to be, but these guys up there, when they were talking to me about, like, they're ratcheting up the stuff for, like, the guidelines for heavy metals to sell commercial weed. So, like, they test it for heavy metals, and if it's above this threshold, you can't sell it. You can't sell it in a store or commercially or whatever. Basically, you can't sell it because then it's illegal.
Yeah.
But they spray all this stuff out in the skies, and then they lower the threshold to where, like, your stuff is going to have that no matter what. You can't get away from it. And that's all part of the agenda of what they're doing. They're like, okay, let's we want this green, but let's tax this, and this. Well, when you do that, you cause this, and this to be even worse.
Yep.
And people, they don't understand that. They don't see the backside of all of what's going on. Jake, he owns a Tesla, and it's an awesome car. But the thing about it is, you got to have another car. We can't even go. We had to go to Moffat. We had to go, the long way, and it took us twice as long because we had to stop the charge. We couldn't go the regular route. So, like, you're limited. That's taken away from there. But how many diesel fuel vehicles did it take to get that power station up and running? What kind of a strain is it putting on the grid? Like, what kind of all of those things that are not. But that goes to kind of every aspect of that, and the freedom that we're losing. We're losing it every time the bank makes a decision. It's going to affect your bottom dollar. Every time they put some kind of a tax out there that's going to help this people, or this fund, or this stimulus, or this, like, it's got to come from somewhere. And people don't realize that. And
every action has a reaction, and these reactions are worse than anything prior to that.
Right. Yeah. And people don't realize that. And it's like, okay, if you can get away from having to, the more money you make as a W-2 employee, the more they're going to take. Then the more you're going to have to pay for this tax, and the more you're going to have to pay for this, and you're not going to have nothing by the time. And that's what they want. They want you in that little box. Keep doing it. Let's work, put in a few more hours so you can give us a little bit more money. And then stuff that's going up, it's making it to where they're just narrowing that margin of people that are going to be able to do anything.
That's right. That's why you need to break out, build a business, and be free in every shape and form, right? You got to get your mind right, your money right, your business right, your family right, and you got to have a plan B, C, and D, because when shit hits the fan, you got to be ready. Yeah,
that's it.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, don't find yourself, stuck when the power goes off and they can't get it turned back on for a week. I mean, I see it coming. We're going to start they're already having these rolling blackouts. It's going to get worse and worse and worse.
Oh yeah. Right. So the writing's on the wall.
Yeah. What are you going to do when you got no power for 4 or 5 days? Your food's going to spoil.
Yep. This book is for the person who is ready to escape the cage they have been living in their whole life. Guys, if you're out there and you feel like you're in some sort of cage, maybe even if you are in a real cage, this book will help you break out and start to get your mind right, your body right, your habits right, and your business right. So, Damon Nichols, the website is called strengthunderstress.com. You can start to be a part of the SUS journey. And shout out to Josh Brisbane for the event where he dropped that word and you said, that is the name. I like it. Let's do it. Right.
Yeah. And it all happened in LAX and on the airport, or on our airplane back from Los Angeles to Denver after that event. So Josh, you had a big part in that. We sorted a whole bunch of merchandise. So you guys will all be get some of that. We'll be able to post some stuff out where people can be able to start getting into that stuff. So
beautiful. The Savage Syndicate. If you guys are interested in learning how to defend yourself, that's what we recommend to look up. The guest we had today, Damon Nichols, is available online. You can find him on Instagram and Facebook and all over. So get in touch with him. If you want to be a sponsor, you want to be a part of anything he's putting together when it comes to strengthunderstress.com. And he'll be looking out to help you break free. Remember, guys, by writing $1 million book, it will lead to $1 million life. Right on.
stay sus.